Hey there, Daniel here again. I hope everybody's doing great. And I don't plan on making any more of these until, well, possibly ever. I don't really know. But there was one other video by the same poster who I had responded to earlier. I had a really long series. Hopefully this one will be nice and short. That I just couldn't keep from responding to. It was concerning an article wherein a Christian at a university had said that, well, we have evidence for the Big Bang and whatnot, and this is actually really good evidence. Support at any rate for the biblical story of creation, and that's my cat behind me. He likes to meow whenever I speak. Well. If you know of a way to make a cat do anything, let me know, and I'll train him, but he's a cat. First of all, very super minor point, support is not proof. She seemed to think that because something supports something that proves it, and that's not the case, neither in a courtroom nor in a philosophy. That's just true. Then she went off with, again, a really weird kind of thing, and I don't know why. If she's watching this, I don't know why you said this. It really doesn't take much to not make this mistake. She wondered why this wouldn't be evidence for Thor or ham sandwiches, I think, for being credited with the creation of the universe and whatnot. Well, the Big Bang wouldn't be evidence for the Norse story or any pagan mythology that I'm aware of for the creation of the universe. If for no other reason than I don't know of any pagan mythologies, including the Norse mythology, which declares the universe to have been made ex nihilo. The Jewish creation story does say this. Its entirety wrapped up in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There's the universe right there. He made that. All of it. It wasn't that God saw some lump of matter in the universe and ate it, and in his digestive tract it formed into the earth, and then out from some orifice or another came the earth as we now know it, or the universe as we now know it. That would be much more like a pagan mythology story. The story in the Bible is that God wanted a universe to appear, and therefore it did. That would be what God would be. All pagan mythologies start with the assumption that there is a universe of some sort. Different ones have it made of different things. Some have it made of a vast ocean. Some have it made of an aether. Some have it made of nothing but principles like chaos and love and whatnot. But they all assume that there is a universe floating around, and then the gods started taking pieces of that universe, molding them into other things, and then made what we have now. That's very different from anything like what the Big Bang would suggest happened, or what Genesis would suggest happened. They're nothing even remotely similar. So that would primarily be why. And why specifically it wouldn't be Thor is he didn't create anything. Not even thunder. Like, he's the god of thunder, but thunder pre-existed Thor, and he claimed it as a thing. So that really... yeah, that's not the same. It claimed the Big Bang destroyed various Christian doctrines, such as the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve and sin and whatnot. No, the Big Bang simply says, a long time ago, boom, universe. Expanded very quickly and whatnot. Where did the universe come from? Doesn't say. Can't. It's science. It can't answer that kind of question. Science is great. It's cool. But it doesn't answer those kinds of questions. But no, at most it can refer to, like, if Genesis 1:1 said something like, "In the beginning was the universe, and God started messing with it." Well, then that might be a problem. But in the beginning, God creating the heavens and the earth, that's not really a problem with the Big Bang. And the Big Bang doesn't really touch on anything concerning evolution or how long people have been here or any of that. It doesn't touch any of that subject at all. I'm an old Earth creationist, for reference, not a young Earth creationist. Young Earth creationist would perhaps argue this point that, oh well, if the Big Bang happened millions of years ago, the Bible can't be true, and that stems primarily from no offense to young Earth creationists out there, some of whom are my very dear friends, a horrible mangling of Genesis 1. It's true. Sorry, it just is. Philosophically, why this is even a thing for me is atheists, until fairly recent modern times, always argued that the universe was eternal, and that therefore there is no need for a God to have created it. It wasn't until things like the Big Bang Theory came along and started to be, more and more proven, that this was the case. Referencing specifically the Kalam cosmological argument, you can't say that Christians invented only after the Big Bang this idea that the universe had a beginning. We've always believed that. Jews have always believed that, and Muslims have always believed that. We're the progenitors, by and large, of the cosmological argument. Because, frankly, logically, there are only two possible explanations. Either there is an infinite regression of events and causality for the universe, or there is some uncaused cause for the universe. Those are your only options. And I believe it was C.S. Lewis who said, an egg which hatched from no bird, or is laid by no bird, is no less supernatural than a bird who has existed from all of eternity. There cannot be an infinite regression. That's irrational. Everybody pretty well recognizes that. The only other option is an uncaused cause. And you don't... She didn't really seem to understand the cosmological argument, and to be fair, the article she was quoting from did not state it well at all. The cosmological argument is things which begin to exist have a cause sufficient such that their existence, that they do in fact begin to exist, Things which begin to exist have a cause sufficient that they do in fact begin to exist. The universe began to exist. We know this because of the Big Bang. There was a time without one, now we have one. God was not caused. He never began to exist. Kind of definitionally, the monotheistic God has always been said to have always been here. He doesn't need a cause, otherwise you're just going back to the infinite regression of causation, which everyone knows is nonsense. So no matter what you want to say, you're not going to be any better off. The only logical options are either God, a different uncaused cause, or an infinite regression of causation created the universe. Those are your only options. You can go with the insane one, or you can go with one of the other two. If you want to name some other uncaused cause, I'd like to hear it. Or if you just want to say, I don't know, that's fine. But to say that, an uncaused cause theory is ridiculous just because it could be named God makes it rational. It doesn't make sense. Very minor point. He calls Christians hypocrites for doing this. I don't think you understand what a hypocrite is. A hypocrite in Greek tragedy and comedy and same thing really, was a stagehand what wore the masks, the big smiley face, the frowny faces, and so on. This was so that the audience could understand that what the emotion was, because they couldn't always hear the emphasis on the dialogue. The purpose of that was that they wore a mask. They were a mask wearer. They were pretending to be something they were not. That is a hypocrite. A hypocrite isn't somebody who has a slightly shifting standard, contextually or whatever have you. It's someone who pretends to be that which they are not. And that's what Jesus was specifically getting angry at. Argues about the idea that humans have been here for 100,000 years or more, and that why would God have waited 2,000 years until 2,000 years ago, to have done anything about it in the form of Jesus? Well, first of all, the Scripture's fairly clear if you actually understand the whole process of salvation, that the solution for sin, salvation, is retroactive. So if you had faith in the one true God before Jesus, you didn't need to necessarily know about Jesus. That faith would also likewise have saved you if you had been trying to love and obey God beforehand, which people had from before probably writing existed. We don't really know, because the Bible in parts is as old as writing itself. So to go back further is nearly impossible, if not outright impossible. Moreover, and there's a really small thing I'm going to make a whole other different video on. What difference does it make if it's 100,000 years, 100 million years, 10 seconds? I don't understand the point that you're trying to make. If you want God to intervene in human history to solve sin, that means that you had to have let sin occur, if you're God, at some point, and then you have to do something to have solved it. Well, the question then comes in, well, why did you let it occur in the first place? And that gets into a whole other philosophical set of arguments, but what difference does it make if it was 4,000 years before Jesus, 6,000 years before Jesus, 10,000 years before Jesus, 50,000 years before Jesus, 100,000 years before Jesus, 100 million years before Jesus? So what? What's the difference? There isn't one. Whether it was one person's first initial sin or billions of people's sin for however long, that's irrelevant. It doesn't make any difference. There are some other reasons I think that this happened, but I'll get to those different video entirely. And talk about using things like this. The Christians are destroying science and against science, and science is apparently her god, I guess. I don't know. And that's terrible. No. See, the scientific method was invented by a Christian. It could have been invented by a Muslim. It could have been invented by a Jew. It could have been invented by nearly anyone who believed that there was a coherent, logical creator to the universe. It wouldn't logically follow that it would be invented by an atheist, because an atheist wouldn't have any reason for thinking that the universe wasn't totally random all the time, philosophically speaking. But it was invented by a Christian, by and large, the father of the scientific method in the first place. And the idea behind science, until fairly modern times, was God is ordered and reasonable and has purposes, therefore the universe must be ordered and reasonable and have purposes, and we should be able to investigate those because it was created by a being with a mind who is ordered and consistent. And if you don't actually have that, you don't have a philosophical basis for science at all. You have an experiential basis for it. Things do tend to seem to be coherent around you, except for people, wildly incoherent beings as a rule. But no, as a state of affairs within the universe itself, you don't really have that. So no, Christians have always been involved in science. It's not new. And we have always took science to explore the creation that God made.